Back in 1992, Highlander made immortality feel eternal. Blades clashed, destinies collided, and those faces became unforgettable. Decades later, time changed them in ways you won't recognize, and some real lives took shocking turns. Stay with us to uncover their real names, real ages, and the love lives you never expected. Adrian Paul as Duncan MacLeod. Adrian Paul was born on May 29, 1959 in London, England. At 33 years old, he played Duncan MacLeod, the disciplined, introspective, immortal warrior in Highlander the series. The role gave the franchise its emotional backbone on television, transforming Highlander from a cult film concept into a long-running saga. And Adrian Paul's calm intensity is largely why the show endured for years. That steadiness on screen was forged early. Raised in England, Paul grew up energetic and competitive, excelling as a footballer with Cray Wanderers before turning toward dance, modeling, and martial arts. The blend of movement, control, and athletic rigor carried him into theater and television, with formative appearances in The Colbys and Beauty and the Beast. Those years shaped the physical precision that later defined his work in War of the Worlds and Tracker, where action always served character. As his career accelerated, his personal life followed a more fragile rhythm. Paul married actress Melanie Figalan in 1990, just as Highlander was gaining momentum. The demands of constant filming, travel, and public attention gradually strained the relationship, leading to their divorce in 1997. Time brought recalibration. In 2009, Paul married Alexandra Vandernoot, and together they built a family with 3 children. Fatherhood reshaped his priorities, adding weight to choices about work and travel, and anchoring a life that had long been defined by motion and discipline. Today, Adrian Paul is 67 years old, working selectively as an actor and producer while continuing his philanthropic efforts through the Peace Fund. With an estimated net worth of around $500,000, his legacy rests less on fortune than on longevity. Stan Kirsch as Richie Ryan. Stan Kirsch was born on July 15, 1968 in New York City. At 24 years old, he played Richie Ryan, the impulsive young protege yearning for immortality in Highlander, the series. Richie embodied youthful recklessness and emotional vulnerability, injecting urgency and heartbreak into the Immortals' world. His arc delivered the series' most painful coming-of-age moments and remains among its most remembered. Kirsch's path to that role began almost immediately. He entered show business at age 4 through national commercials, growing up under studio lights and learning the craft by repetition. As he matured, he moved into dramatic television with General Hospital, then balanced Highlander with work on Jag and Friends, building range while navigating the pressure of early recognition. In adulthood, he sought stability beyond the screen. Kirsch married Kristen Green in 2009, and his life appeared settled as he shifted focus toward mentoring and directing. Founding an acting studio allowed him to pass on experience, offering structure and purpose after years defined by a single iconic role. Behind that outward steadiness, emotional strain quietly accumulated. The long shadow of early success, coupled with the uncertainty of an uneven career, weighed heavily, even as he continued to teach and create. On January 11, 2020, Stan Kirsch died at his Los Angeles home at the age of 51. The cause ruled a suicide by hanging. At the time of his death, his estimated net worth was around $1 million, built through decades of acting, directing, and coaching. His passing stands as one of Highlander's most heartbreaking real-life losses. Jim Byrnes as Joe Dawson. Jim Byrnes was born on September 22, 1948, in St. Louis, Missouri. At 44 years old, he played Joe Dawson, the grounded watcher who served as the Immortals' moral witness in Highlander, the series. His character brought humanity and quiet conscience to a world of eternal warriors, anchoring the series with empathy rather than the sword. Joe Dawson's presence expanded Highlander beyond combat, giving the saga memory, history, and consequence. That depth was shaped early. Raised in a stable, working-class household, Byrnes gravitated to music and performance as a teenager, beginning his career in the late 1960s before being drafted during the Vietnam War. After relocating to Vancouver in the 1970s, he rebuilt his life through acting and blues, eventually landing his first major role as lifeguard in Wise Guy, opening doors to long-form television. Life changed irrevocably on February 26, 1972, when Byrnes was struck by a car while helping move a stalled truck, resulting in the amputation of both legs. Rather than retreat, he returned to the stage and screen, integrating his physical reality into his roles with dignity. That resilience became inseparable from his work on Highlander. On screen, he appeared across series such as Higher Ground, Sanctuary, Andromeda, and voiced iconic characters in Beast Wars, Transformers. In music, he became a celebrated blues artist, winning multiple Juno Awards and earning national honors in Canada, proof that his creative life did not narrow after tragedy, but widened. Now, Jim Byrnes is 78 years old, living in Vancouver, and remaining active as a performer and recording artist. With an estimated net worth of $3 million, his legacy rests on endurance and artistry, an actor who turned loss into purpose and gave Highlander its quiet soul. Alexandra Vandernoot as Tessa Knoll. Alexandra Vandernoot was born on September 19, 1965, in Brussels, Belgium. At 27 years old, she played Tessa Knoll, the mortal lover who humanized an immortal hero in Highlander, the series. Tessa's compassion, intelligence, and vulnerability reshaped the show's emotional core. Her presence made Duncan MacLeod's eternal life feel painfully finite. Raised in a household steeped in the arts, Vandernoot trained at the Royal Conservatory of Brussels before entering film in the 1980s. Early roles in exploits of a young Don Juan and later French cinema refined her screen subtlety, which translated powerfully to television. By the time Highlander began, she carried a classical discipline that contrasted sharply with the show's violence and mythology. As the series grew, the workload intensified. Filming across continents isolated Vandernoot from family and support, and the relentless schedule took a personal toll. Choosing connection over momentum, she asked to leave the series, prompting Tessa's shocking on-screen death. Away from the set, Vandernoot built a life with French director Bernard Uzan, with whom she has 2 children. Returning to Europe allowed her to rebalance, while her career continued with acclaimed films like The Dinner Game and The Closet, and steady work in French television and theater, success on her own terms, rather than at any cost. Today, Alexandra Vandernoot is 61 years old, still active in acting and stage work. With an estimated net worth of $1 million, her legacy is defined not by screen time, but by impact. An actress whose single role altered Highlander forever and proved that mortality, not immortality, is the story's true heartbeat. Peter Wingfield as Methos. Peter Wingfield was born on September 5, 1962, in Cardiff, Wales. At 30 years old, he played Methos, the ancient, enigmatic immortal burdened by centuries of survival in Highlander, the series. Methos reframed the mythology by introducing guilt, irony, and moral ambiguity, deepening the franchise beyond heroism. Wingfield's restrained intelligence made Methos a fan favorite and a philosophical counterweight to the sword. That complexity grew from an unusually dual path. Educated at Oxford and Barts with the intent to practice medicine, Wingfield pivoted to acting after formal training at the Guildhall School. Early UK work gave way to North American television, where he built a reputation for thoughtful authority in roles that blended intellect with tension, later extending to Holby City and Sanctuary. As his screen profile rose, his personal life stabilized. Wingfield married Carolyn Stewart in 1998, and they have a son. The steadiness of family life mirrored his professional range, allowing him to balance long arcs on television with selective film work, including X2 and Catwoman, without chasing constant visibility. Over time, the pull of medicine resurfaced. Beginning in 2011, Wingfield deliberately reduced acting to return to medical school, completing his training and qualifying as an anesthesiologist. The decision marked a rare reversal in Hollywood. By 2026, Peter Wingfield is 64 years old, practicing medicine while remaining connected to acting on his own terms. With an estimated net worth of $1 million, his legacy is defined by choice and discipline. An artist who embodied immortality on screen, then chose a life devoted to healing off it. Elizabeth Gracen as Amanda Daryou. Elizabeth Gracen was born on April 3, 1961 in Boonville, Arkansas. At 31 years old, she played Amanda Daryou, the seductive, rebellious immortal who challenged the rules of eternity in Highlander, the series. Amanda injected wit, danger, and desire into the saga, complicating loyalty and freedom with charm. Her presence expanded the emotional palette of Highlander, proving immortality could be playful and costly. Raised between Boonville and Russellville in a working-class family, Gracen's early ambition carried her from local pageants to national recognition as Miss America 1982. She parlayed that visibility into acting, studying in New York before film and television roles followed, including Marked for Death and later standout turns in The Dinner Game and The Closet. Her personal life unfolded under scrutiny. Gracen married John Birmingham in 1982 and divorced in 1984, then married Brendan Hughes in 1989, divorcing in 1994. She later married Adam Murphy, with whom she has a daughter. Each chapter coincided with career shifts, revealing the strain of reinvention amid public attention. Public controversy intensified in the late 1990s when Gracen acknowledged a past relationship with Bill Clinton, drawing her into the Paula Jones investigation and forcing periods of avoidance and relocation during production. The episode cast a long shadow, contributing to a strategic withdrawal from acting and a turn toward voice work, writing, and independent production. Today, Elizabeth Gracen is 65 years old, working as a writer, producer, and occasional performer through Flapper Films and Flapper Press. With an estimated net worth of $3 million, her legacy reflects resilience. An immortal on screen who survived scandal, reshaped her career, and chose authorship of her own story. Lisa Howard as Dr. Anne Lindsay. Lisa Howard was born on November 24, 1963, in London, Ontario, Canada. At 29 years old, she played Dr. Anne Lindsay, the compassionate physician who grounded immortality in human consequence in Highlander. The series. Anne Lindsay introduced empathy and ethical tension, forcing Duncan MacLeod to confront the cost of secrecy. Her arc softened the series, proving that emotional stakes could rival the sword. That sensitivity grew from a steady upbringing and early immersion in television. Howard built a versatile resume across North American TV, moving fluidly between genres with appearances in Perry Mason, Forever Knight, and RoboCop, the series. Her long-running role as April Ramirez on Days of Our Lives sharpened her dramatic timing, while later, work on Earth. Final Conflict expanded her reach in science fiction. As her profile rose, her personal life remained anchored. Howard married producer-writer Daniel Cerrone in 1994, and together they raised 2 children. The stability of that partnership allowed her to work consistently without courting publicity, choosing roles that fit a balanced family life rather than chasing constant exposure. Through the late 1990s and 2000s, she continued to appear selectively, with credits including Sybil, The Pretender, and Suddenly Susan. Her final on-screen role arrived in 2009, closing a career defined by reliability and emotional clarity rather than spectacle. Now, Lisa Howard is 63 years old, living privately with her family and largely retired from acting. With an estimated net worth of $1 million, her legacy rests on restraint, a performer who enriched Highlander by reminding immortals what it means to care. Philip Akin as Charlie DeSalvo. Philip Akin was born on April 18, 1950, in Kingston, Jamaica. At 42 years old, he played Charlie DeSalvo, the pragmatic watcher whose loyalty bridged secrecy and conscience in Highlander, the series. Charlie strengthened the watcher's human dimension, adding grit and trust to a shadowed organization. His presence balanced myth with realism, sharpening the show's moral stakes. Akin's path began in Jamaica before his family settled in Ontario, where he trained rigorously at Ryerson Theatre School and graduated directly into professional theatre. Early prominence led to television and film, while deep martial arts practice infused his performances with authority. Roles in War of the Worlds and later The Sum of All Fears and SWAT broadened his international profile. As his screen work expanded, Akin committed equally to the stage and to mentorship. He became a founding force and long-serving artistic director of Obsidian Theatre Company, championing Black artists and creators while directing acclaimed productions. That leadership paralleled his acting, emphasizing community over celebrity. Recognition followed sustained impact. Akin earned the Dora Maver Moore Award for Direction, the Herbert Whittaker Award for Distinguished Contribution, and national acknowledgement for shaping Canadian theatre. Performances at the Stratford Festival, including Othello, confirmed his range and gravitas beyond television. By 2026, Philip Akin is 76 years old, respected as an actor, director, and cultural architect. With an estimated net worth of $1 million, his legacy lies in influence, an artist who strengthened Highlander on screen and transformed the stage off it. Michel Modo as Maurice Michel Modo was born on March 30, 1937, in Carpentras, Vaucluse, France. At 55 years old, he played Maurice Lalande, the wry, streetwise French everyman in Highlander, the series. Maurice added warmth and humor, grounding immortals in everyday life and giving the series a human pulse. His presence made Highlander feel lived in rather than myth only. That ease came from decades of comedy. Rising with the beloved duo Gracen et Modo in the late 1950s, Modo became a familiar face alongside Louis de Funès, notably as Constable Berlicourt in Le Gendarme de Saint-Tropez, and later Le Gendarme et les Gendarmettes. Theater and television followed, including memorable turns in A Midsummer Night's Dream adaptations and steady character work that prized timing over spectacle. As his career matured, Modo shifted seamlessly between screen acting and voice work, becoming a staple of French dubbing, most famously on The Simpsons. That versatility carried into the 2000s with appearances like Plus Belle la Vie, where his gentle irony resonated with a new generation. Illness arrived quietly. Modo battled cancer while continuing to work, even recording voice sessions late into his career. The disease advanced, and his absence was felt immediately when he could no longer complete his final dubbing commitments. Sadly, Michel Modo died on September 25, 2008, at 71 years old, in Vaires-sur-Marne, Seine-et-Marne, France, following complications from cancer. At the time of his death, his estimated net worth was about $500,000, a modest sum that belied a vast cultural footprint built on laughter, humility, and heart. Peter Hudson as James Horton. Peter Hudson was born around 1955 and raised across Africa, the Middle East, and South America. At approximately 37 years old, he played James Horton, the calculating watcher strategist in Highlander, the series. Horton sharpened the watcher's political edge, adding tension and ethical friction that complicated the immortal's world. His arc pushed Highlander toward intrigue and consequence. That global sensibility shaped Hudson early. Educated in England at Exeter and East Anglia, he taught literature and French before turning to acting, bringing an academic precision to performance. His work traveled widely, later extending to international productions that value restraint and intelligence over flash. On screen, Hudson built a varied resume beyond Highlander, appearing in films such as The Pianist and Lockout, and later in large-scale projects, including Valerian and The City of a Thousand Planets and The Last Duel. Between sets, he wrote, directed, and cultivated a quiet life that balanced art with craft. His personal life unfolded in chapters. Hudson married Mary Von Morissette Olivier, with whom he has 2 children, before divorcing. He later married Anne Le Campion, also divorcing in 2004, and continued to prioritize family while working internationally. Today, Peter Hudson is around 71 years old, based in France and active on his own terms as an actor, writer, and filmmaker. With an estimated net worth of $1 million, his legacy rests on breadth, an artist shaped by borders who brought subtle gravity to Highlander and beyond. Amanda Wyss as Randy McFarland. Amanda Wyss was born on November 24, 1960, in Manhattan Beach, California. At 32 years old, she played Randy McFarland, the sharp investigative reporter who chased truth at personal risk in Highlander. The series. Randy's pursuit of secrets injected urgency into the mythology, forcing immortals into the glare of human scrutiny. Her presence reminded the show that truth can be as dangerous as any blade. Growing up by the California coast, Wyss entered acting early, moving from commercials to television before breaking out in defining 1980s films. Roles in Fast Times at Ridgemont High and A Nightmare on Elm Street cemented her as a generational face, while Better Off Dead and Silverado broadened her range. By the time she joined Highlander, she carried the confidence of a seasoned screen performer. As her career matured, Wyss navigated a steady rhythm of film and television, guest starring across Cheers, St. Elsewhere, Charmed, CSY, and Dexter. Rather than chasing constant spotlight, she chose varied characters that kept her craft sharp, balancing genre work with independent projects. Her personal life unfolded quietly. In 2024, Wyss married actor Stephen Caffrey, marking a late-life chapter defined by stability after decades of work-first momentum. The partnership coincided with selective returns to acting and festival appearances. By 2026, Amanda Wyss is 66 years old, continuing to work on her own terms. With an estimated net worth of $2 million, her legacy rests on versatility. An actress who helped define 1980s cinema and added investigative tension to Highlander's world. Roger Daltrey as Hugh Fitzcairn. Roger Daltrey was born on March 1, 1944, in London, England. At 48 years old, he played Hugh Fitzcairn, the ruthless, theatrical immortal whose charisma masked cruelty in Highlander, the series. Fitzcairn brought operatic menace to the saga, proving immortality could be flamboyant and lethal. Daltrey's presence elevated the show with rock star gravitas. His early life was forged under pressure. Born during a World War II bombing raid, evacuated as an infant, and raised in a rough London neighborhood, Daltrey learned to survive by force of will. That toughness carried him into music, where he co-founded The Who, fronting anthems like My Generation and Pinball Wizard, and later into acting with landmark roles in Tommy and Quadrophenia. Success came with personal complexity. Daltrey married Jacqueline Rickman in 1964, divorcing in 1968, then married Heather Taylor in 1971, building a large, unconventional family that included children from earlier relationships. The revelations of adult children in the 1990s tested family bonds, eventually widening them. Health challenges marked midlife. Daltrey underwent throat surgery in 1978, later faced vocal cord dysplasia requiring laser treatment in 2010, endured hearing loss from decades of loud performances, suffered a broken eye socket in 1996, and managed additional medical issues that reshaped how and how long he could perform. Now, Roger Daltrey is 82 years old, a knighted cultural icon still advocating for music and charity. With an estimated net worth of $50 million, his legacy spans sound, stage, and screen. An immortal on Highlander, and a giant of rock whose voice changed popular music forever. Werner Stocker as Darius Werner Stocker was born on April 7, 1955, in Flensbach am Inn, Bavaria, Germany. At 37 years old, he played Darius, the gentle, spiritual, immortal monk and Duncan MacLeod's moral compass in Highlander, the series. Darius brought grace and quiet wisdom to the series, redefining strength as compassion rather than violence. His brief presence altered the emotional direction of Highlander forever. Trained at the Neue Münchner Schauspielschule and the Otto Falkenberg School, Stocker built a strong reputation in German television and cinema long before Highlander. Performances in acclaimed works like Herbstmilch and the international production The Dirty Dozen. The Deadly Mission revealed an actor of sensitivity and depth, earning him major honors including the Bavarian Film Award and German Film Award. By the time he joined Highlander, Stocker was at the peak of his craft. The role of Darius was originally written to extend across multiple seasons, but fate intervened. During production in 1993, Stocker was diagnosed with a brain tumor, forcing urgent rewrites and limiting his ability to continue filming. The loss of Darius reshaped the show's mythology and left a visible absence. As his health rapidly declined, colleagues recalled his professionalism and calm dignity. Scenes were completed using existing footage, and the cast and crew worked under emotional strain, aware that the actor's condition was grave. Stocker's illness quietly overshadowed what should have been the beginning of a long international chapter. Sadly, Werner Stocker died on May 27, 1993, at 38 years old, in Munich, Bavaria, from a brain tumor. At the time of his death, his estimated net worth was around $500,000. The episodes Unholy Alliance and Unholy Alliance Part 2 were dedicated to him, an enduring tribute to an actor whose final role embodied peace, sacrifice, and grace. Valentine Pelka as Kronos. Valentine Pelka was born on February 23, 1956, in Dewsbury, Yorkshire, England. At 36 years old, he played Kronos, the ruthless, immortal executioner and former disciple of Methos in Highlander, the series. Kronos injected pure menace into the saga, embodying brutality without remorse. His arc intensified the mythology by exposing the darkest consequences of immortal power. Raised in a multicultural artistic family, Pelka trained rigorously before moving into television in the 1980s. Early visibility came with Crossbow, followed by international appearances in Zorro. His work balanced classical discipline with physical intensity, later extending into prestigious films such as The Pianist and Under the Tuscan Sun. Pelka's return to the Highlander universe went beyond Kronos. In Highlander, The Raven, he portrayed Andre Korda, further cementing his place within the franchise's darker psychological terrain. His ability to shift between charm and cruelty made him a compelling antagonist rather than a one-note villain. Away from the screen, Pelka's personal life remained stable. He married in the mid-1990s and became a father, maintaining a private family life while continuing to work steadily across film, television, and stage, including later theatrical returns in London. Today, Valentine Pelka is 70 years old, still active in acting and production. With an estimated net worth of $1 million, his legacy within Highlander endures through Kronos, a character remembered not for redemption, but for reminding immortals and audiences how terrifying eternity can become without restraint. Time has passed, faces have changed, and some journeys ended far too soon, but the legacy of Highlander still cuts deep. Which cast member's story surprised you the most, and whose fate moved you the hardest? If these immortals left a mark on your childhood, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because there can be only one, but their stories deserve to live on.